Good afternoon. This is the Committee on Administration meeting for the County of Dunn. The committee is meeting in room 54 at the county buildings. Our call of the roll shows that we have Supervisor Zahns present. We have Supervisor Tim Lenow is via Zoom. And we have Supervisor Mike Rogers, who I always want to say Mike Rogers because I know a Roger Mikes, and so I always want to reverse his name. Sorry about that, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers. All right. Absent from the meeting is Supervisor Bauer, and board chair is not a standard committee member, but is often present. Approval of the minutes from our May 26, 2022 meeting.
Minutes.
Supervisor Zahns, Supervisor Rogers seconds. Any concerns or any adjustments?
He's, oh, remember to turn your microphone on. So, it said that Supervisor McCullough was absent, but would he be absent because he's not required to be here? I think it could probably go either way. The county board chair is an ex officio member of the committee, so he is actually a member of the committee. But his obligation to come to the meetings is different than the appointed committee members.
Thank you. Otherwise, all in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Minutes are approved. Public comment. Do we receive any public comment for this committee? No one's here. All right, we'll move on then.
We have, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, we have someone that joined us,
Okay.
looks like by telephone.
This is Bob Bauer, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Was Bob.
Supervisor
Okay.
Bauer, all right.
Make a note then that change our roll call that Mr. Bauer is here by a phone.
It took me a while to get to it. I couldn't get to it. I told you I'd probably have problems, but thank you.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thanks for making the effort and appreciate you here. Any other any public comment that we know of?
No,
All right, hearing that there's none. Staff reports, again, all of the committee receives detailed staff reports monthly from our departments that report to this committee, along with their updated version of their budgets at this point during the calendar year. One have any questions for any of the staff about their reports?
I do.
Marcelino, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a quick question for Sarah. I noticed that body cam are they been received for the police officers, or are they in process, or what's the story there?
Okay, we have Sarah Benedict is going to go to the podium and answer that for us.
All right.
All right, thanks for the question. I am not sure. So what I was referring to in my report is Wisconsin Counties Association asked the Department of Justice to release grant funding for body cams for counties and to apply for grants to receive body cameras. So this was approved already in the state budget. WCA is requesting that the state release those funds so counties can apply for those grants. So I don't know the status of our equipment, what we have here. It's just a grant opportunity that WCA is helping advocate for counties. Did I address your?
I'm assuming that we're going to apply for the monies?
Yes, I would certainly bring that forth to our sheriff and our leaders of the CJCC, and we would probably assist in applying for that if there's desire. It's very
Okay.
expensive, not only the equipment, it's the evidence, and I see Dan Dunbar here and us just going through the digital evidence with the DA, the law enforcement. It's an increasingly higher amount of evidence, and the storage costs are expensive, transfer costs are expensive. So there will be a decision point in the future of how to really deal with the volumes of digital evidence that they're collecting.
Okay, Sarah, I have one other question. This has to do with, I heard an NPR story on the way back from up north the other day, and it was regarding confiscation of cash from people traveling through the area that happen to get pulled over. I can certainly understand if they're sitting with a bunch of contraband in the trunk in the back seat, and a lot of cash is there, that would be considered an issue. In this particular story, they were talking about an individual who had about $9,000 that had been given to from his grandfather to him to pay for a funeral. And he's had a huge ongoing litigation problem. I was just wondering, do we have any set rules or guidance, from the county regarding cash that's found in a search vehicle?
I am not knowledgeable enough to answer that question. But I know that if there is cash in a stop and there's a crime that somebody has been perhaps accused of, that they could take that as evidence, and it could be harder to get it back, but I'm not sure of the county's policy that we have here.
Okay, I would be interested to find out if there is something, and if you could you maybe steer me in the right direction as to who to speak to?
I can, I'll send an email to the sheriff and ask him what state and federal laws and any policies we might have that would apply to that.
Okay. I've just been hearing bits and pieces about that kind of thing, and was just curious as to what we had as stated policy. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have
Mike Supervisor Rogers has a question.
The grant for behavioral health that you're looking, what is that about?
So that is a grant opportunity through the state of Wisconsin to use federal comprehensive opioid and substance abuse funding specifically for law enforcement, to do law enforcement led deflection diversion. Deflection is where we're trying to steer people out of the criminal justice system. So that would be very low level crimes, perhaps possession, mental health type nuisance things that it's not really a crime. People need to get connected with cares of systems of care. So the behavioral health officer idea, Menominee Police Department's a couple of steps ahead of us, and we're really looking at the same model, but it's to hire it would be an officer, fully trained officer, but they have additional skills in behavioral health and substance use addiction to really help go into schools, help deliver some of the prevention curriculum, which we're realizing is more and more important if we're wanting to stop crime, stop some of the things that come into the criminal justice system. Also to work with adults that would be diverted. Presently, our officers in both the city and the county have the ability to do diversions. It doesn't happen very often. This would be somebody in their office that could really help handle that, because, part of what police do is they catch whoever's doing whatever and put it through the system. So for them to do a diversion for something that would normally be they would consider a crime. I think it's just a little bit outside of the box of what a typical officer does. So this would really allow it to be more embedded into the agency, where somebody really, an officer would really have those additional skills to work with juveniles, work with adults to divert them out, and then encourage some of the other treatment programs that are available. This, it kind of equated to the first off-ramp of the criminal justice system. So these would be essentially low-level crimes where we want to prevent them from getting in the criminal justice system, prevent them from incarceration, because that compounds the problem down the road. So the officer would do all sorts of different things. But one of them would be to get out there, be liaisons with the schools. That's an important component to really develop those connections with the smaller law enforcement agencies that are out there, help support them, help identify the kids that are at risk. And instead of making a juvenile justice referral, they're doing some other alternative means to really help them get connected with the help they need. And whether that's, it can be all sorts of help, like, your parents need help, or, whether it's a job or a mentor or treatment, it can be a lot of different things.
Follow up?
Yeah. go ahead.
I don't want to get too far in left field, but if this grant did go through, would that be a 1-year grant, or and then the county would take on a additional position after that?
This grant would go for a year with the opportunity for extension if other places didn't fully expend their dollars. I think we were the only applicant in this round, so there's a good chance we're going to get the funding. And if that's the case, there's a good chance we would get continuing funding, but it does allow us to experiment, so to speak, to get that behavioral health officer out there to see if they can make a difference. What we've seen in the city is a 60% reduction in juvenile justice referrals, which is huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions for any of the other department managers? We have a lot of staff here. If anybody has questions about any of the other reports. Any of the staff members wish to highlight anything, or is there anything that needs to be updated as far as the reports?
Could it, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I would ask Jackie McFagan, our deputy county clerk, to give you a little update on a troubling situation with respect to the upcoming election. We were to have received absentee ballots by yesterday, I believe, and our printing company, Command Central, has failed to deliver them in a timely manner. And so I just, in the interest of transparency and for your information and the information of anyone watching, we just want to make sure that we give you a little update. Jackie, there's a talk button over, it's the right of the two buttons. So you'll see a red light come on. Could you press that? Thank you.
Okay, everybody. According to a Wisconsin state statute, the county clerk's office, as of yesterday, was supposed to hand out absentee ballots. Whew, getting a little nervous here. To the municipal clerks, and they technically are supposed to have them in the mail to the absentee electors today. Our ballots will not be here until Monday. They said after I asked that they would be able to overnight them for $1,000. Okay, that was kind of my reaction too. But this wasn't found out until they sent an email Monday night at 7:30. Clearly, we're all gone. I did not receive that email to the CCO office until 10:41 on the 22nd, Wednesday. yesterday. Everybody knows clerks are not happy. Clerks are questioning. But this is happening to multiple counties. This is not just our county.
There are at least 20 counties that are experiencing.
So at that point, we're not worried that we are going to be targeted, that there's going to be fines or imprisonment or felonies issued. So, you know, that is where we're at right now.
was the screw up at their end that they just didn't get these done? And if so, why are they wanting $1,000 overnight stuff if it was their mistake?
So it's not necessarily that it was the Wisconsin, they're blaming the Wisconsin Election Commission for a late approval of the ballot. The Command Central cannot approve or start printing until this commission approves it. On the other hand, I have an email from the election commissioner who is saying, no, despite what they say, we approved it on time. So I asked for the date that it was approved for in writing in an email. And he said, following up on our phone call, the Dunn County ballot proof was approved on June 16th, 2022. So that was last week. The printers are in Missouri, which is why the $1,000 overnight deal. People were under the assumption that because Command Central is headquartered out of St. Cloud, that somebody could just drive over there. In fact, I was asked that multiple times today, but it's a little bit different when it's 10 hours away rather than 2. So that's where we're at. There is going to be, I mean, in my prediction, just from the last election, and there could be some guff, we'll say. And, you know, but again, our defense in that is we are not the only one, and we are not one of 2 or one of 3. We are one of many that are facing this. So.
And as far as why they want an extra $1,000 to ship, who can say? I mean, they want what they want, and that's all there is to it. As corporation counsel, I'm gonna have to contact them and let them know that we're disappointed and highlight some of the statutory requirements that, you know, we have to meet. And illustrate how they weren't met because of their, you know, their failure to deliver on time. And hopefully that will mitigate any, you know, regulatory issues with respect to the clerk. And I guess that's the best we can do for now.
Absolutely. And again, there is a form here that I have multiple copies of, if anybody wants it, that I was sent today in lieu of this particular issue with the counties. They had come up with this memo on the 21st, and that's where the argument process is between the Election Commission and Command Central, kind of them going back and forth. However, that the statutes are not meant to be broken. They cannot be swayed, nothing. And this is the latest thing. They want the local officials to know. They want elected officials to know about this. So there can be a plan in the event that somebody were to come under suit for injury of the late ballot delivery. That is what I was told by Robert Kehoe, Deputy Administrator for the Election Commission.
Mr. Rogers, please.
So is the timeline that it was approved and they had less than a week to print them? Is that the timeline I'm hearing?
It's really close to that. We were waiting. We had sent them into Election Commission and waiting for them to approve it so we could send it to Command Central. As far as a timeline goes, we had proved it. They kind of said that they'd have it here by yesterday. You know, I do not have access to that email, unfortunately, or the receipt. So
This is a company that specializes in ballot printing. If I'm not mistaken, they're also the manufacturer of voting scanners or, vote
Tabulators,
tabulators,
yes.
voting machines and so forth. I mean, this is their business and they're nationwide. This is not a tall order for them, and we don't know all of the reasons why, but they haven't delivered as they were supposed to have. And they work with governments. This is what they do. I just was wondering with supply chain issues that we have on a continuous basis, if that 1 week time frame was unreasonable, but if that's their business. it's
Yeah,
probably
I
not.
mean, I don't know the Wisconsin Election Commission, they have their process, and when they approve, then, things can go and get printed. And we have the vendors saying the Elections Commission waited too long to approve, and the Election Commission saying, no, we approved on time. It's entirely with the vendor. And so the
vendor-
best we can do is just be vigilant. And as soon as those ballots get here, we're going to make sure they're in the, hands of the municipal clerks as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And I was also promised by the vendor, not only vocally today, but in an email yesterday, that we would have the tracking slip when they were shipped. When I talked to Carly this morning at 10 o'clock, she said, I think your order is getting packaged up. As of just before I stepped up here, there is still no tracking slip. So the event that it may not even be here Monday, even though it was told to me today, is questionable. If I don't have a tracking slip, if it's not on the road today, chances are it may not even be Monday.
Ooh,
Until we have that information, of course, we won't know that it's shipped.
Right. So in case anybody were to say, well, they're gonna be here Monday, we actually don't know.
The best we can do, and that's what we're going to do, is just be vigilant. And as soon as they get here, we're gonna rip that box open like it's a Christmas present and get that stuff out to the municipal clerks so they can get their work done.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a quick question.
Supervisor Lino, go ahead.
Yeah, just, are we gonna be keeping the municipal clerks in the loop on this?
We have been.
Okay, all right.
They're getting 2 or 3 communications a day, at least is my guess.
Yes.
All right.
Anything else, Jackie?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else on staff reports that we should address? All right, then we're gonna move on. Consideration for action by the Committee on Administration, audit, excuse me, of our vouchers. Any questions? We're prepared, our county manager will make a list of anything that we need to be resolved, and again, will get back to us in a hurry with those information. Anybody have any questions? Supervisor Lino, go ahead.
I just have one. It's on the second to the last page. It's regarding Copasan Services Incorporated, exterminating services.
Could you spell that, please?
COPESAN.
And is it what department or?
Judicial Center. Is this something that we normally get paid, have to take care of, or do we have somebody visiting that shouldn't be?
Just guessing, it's probably both, but what's in Supervisor Lino, what is the amount?
The amount is $351.50, and then another one for $60.
Okay. I'll follow up on that and provide all of you with an email providing more detail about that expenditure.
Okay,
All right, that's all I've got.
thank you, Tim. Anyone else? Supervisor Rogers, is ons, anything? I have none. Consideration of reports, resolutions and ordinances to the county board from this being moved ahead by this committee. We have none this month.
Did you have a motion and a vote on the
Oh, I'm sorry.
vouchers? I'm sorry.
No, we did not.
Okay.
Thank you Supervisor Rogers and Supervisor Zahn seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's,
Thank you.
Aye.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Mr. Bauer, did you have anything else? I'm sorry, I hope we didn't lose contact with you.
No, he's muted.
Okay, good.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Announcements. Our next meeting date is July 28th. We will meet here without any, I guess our expectation is that we will be here, room 54 at 3 o'clock.
That's the day after the county board meeting, so.
Yeah, remember we have a late county board meeting. Does that seem reasonable to everyone? That would be our normal meeting date. Looks good. All right. And that's what we'll do. Beyond that, any other announcements by anyone that needs to be addressed? All right. I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, Bob and Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Rogers, for attending.